What's good, y'all? What's poppin'? Give me a second. Let me go in the group and share this. Hold up. All right. Welcome back. Good day. How you doing? How was your day? Hope you had a wonderful day today. Thank you for tuning in. Oh, I'm live. My bad. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. Welcome, class. Today, we're going to talk about something that, excuse my popcorn. We're going to talk about something that I was waiting until next semester to go into, but I find it a little bit important. I should, because you guys are seekers and you actually research further. I know he's going to come up upon this anyway. Anyway, I'd like to do a check to see who's in class today. So if you're in class today, just say present. Appreciate that, so I can know who's falling and who's here as I finish my popcorn. So who's in class today? Sharon, what? You made it in early. It's good. Okay. You drain Gandhi, you gonna be alright. Oh, you say rhyme? Okay, my bad. Okay, so we're gonna focus on, in the chart, it's called the North Node. I'm gonna keep this chart up here. I'm not gonna tear it down for one piece of. And that part is actually a point. It's a point. I want you to follow through in the book. Let me show you where you can find it in the book. It skips a little ways down. I think it's in here. We made sure before I. Okay. But when I find, okay, the moon's node, 133. Page 133 in your book. Page 133. It's known as the moon's node. I'm going to read it from the book so you can understand a bit more from the book, since you got this to follow. Two other astrological symbols that will appear in your birth chart are the north node and south node of the moon. Like the angles, the nodes are not physical bodies, but points in space. The nodal orbit arises from the intersection of the moon's orbit with the plane of the ecliptical, that's the path the sun and the planet, as they appear to revolve around the earth. The north, or ascending node, which we call north node, so you could know both names, ascending node, north node, shows where the moon crosses the sun's path from the south to the north. The south, or descending node, conversely, is formed when the moon travels from a northerly to a southerly celestial latitude. That's a lot of technical stuff. But when somebody asks you with the North Node, you can follow this and learn, and tell them as if you know exactly what you're talking. The nodes are referred to in Chinese astrology as the dragon's head, North Node, and the dragon's tail, South Node. In the birth chart, the North Node is a symbol of a spiritual power and integration. It depicts the future and represents how new learning experiences can lead to personal growth. The South Node, lying directly opposite, points to our base of operation, the sum total of knowledge that we have carried around from the past. And when they say past, this could mean in your same lifetime, or it could also mean past lives. As a symbol of the past, the South Node represents a resource, innate talent, or ability which we have been born with. It's born, and it often expresses itself at an early age. Thus, we can use our South Node skills to enhance our lives and make a contribution to others and to society, as seen in Table 2. Our strength comes from what we carry over from the past, because South Node functioning seems so naturally easy and comfortable. We are vulnerable to overemphasizing these qualities, and thus can get stuck there. Eventually, we may become bored, limited, stunned in our growth, and depleted of energy. The nodes, after all, represents polarity. Problems arise when we remain fixated in the South Node's realm and avoid the path of future development depicted by the North Node sign and the house placement. For the polarity to remain balanced, both sides must be equally represented. Thus, it is suggested that thanks for joining us, Sheena, that you use your South Node as a base of operation while moving forward into the path of future growth depicted by the North Node. Now, in Vedic astrology, or Vedic astrology, whatever you want to call it, those 2 points, the North Node. Hey, Ambi, thanks for joining. So the North Node and the South Node are known as Rahu, which is the North Node in Vedic astrology, and Ketu, which is the South Node or the dragon's tail. So the dragon's head is called Rahu, or North Node, or dragon's head. And Ketu, also known as the South Node, and the dragon's tail. Now, this is a very, very important part in your chart, one of the most important parts. It basically tells you about what your purpose is about, what will bring you a sense of fulfillment, what will make you feel as if you are here and you're doing what you came here to do. Now, this, like I said earlier, is not a physical point. All right, so it's an ecliptical point of the sun and the moon, how they revolve around the earth, and the moon in its path. So it's sort of like a point where they both meet. And this point is one of the most important points in your life. If you have planets that are conjunct to North Node, that planet can literally tell you how you're going to get to focus on your North Node. If you have a planet conjunct your South Node, this is a planet, or the energy that planet, the sign that sits in, is where you emphasize a little too much. It's sort of like your safety net. It's where you go to and what you do, even though you know you're not doing it. You see? I want you guys, and let me draw it for you so you can know how it looks if you don't have an idea of how it looks. Tilt this a bit. Ow. Yo. The North Node in the house. In the house. Hope you guys are having a wonderful, wonderful day. Today is a beautiful day. It was an awesome day. So let's draw the North Node. So the North Node, so it looks like this, okay? And that's what it looks like, okay? The North Node, or you could bring it a little closer so I can show you exactly how it looks. It's like this. So that's the North Node. The South Node looks like this. It's upside down this time. So it's like, all right, so let me bring it closer so you can see it. It's like, that is the South Node. Look for it in your chart. We won't go through every single planetary position of that. We're going to focus on where your chart is. But you know what? For the people that are not in class now, I think I'm gonna go there. Like I said earlier, the North Node is where you need to get to. So people say. And the South Node is your crutch, what you're always used to. Let me give you an example of North Node in the first house. We could go, I tell you, after this semester we're going fully into signs. I'm just overemphasizing houses because I want you to understand the houses. Okay. Before I move on, anybody got any questions about North Node and South Node? I know you guys already did your little research and what have you, and now it's like, boom, I got this, teach, I got this, professor. You don't know, I know more than you do because I've been doing my research. And I'm going to tell you, no! Okay. Sorry, not to be a fool. Let's look at, and we talked about her earlier. Let's make sure that her North Node is sitting in her first house. Okay. So I think we talked about Halle Berry the other day. We talked about her kids and what have you. Halle Berry, North Node is sitting in the first house. And we already know the first house is the house of self. Is the house of the physical body. Is the house of... Wait, you know what? You guys need to be telling me what the first house is. What does the first house consist of, class? Anybody? Anybody? Just tell me what the first house is. Don't all answer at once now. That's me being sarcastic. Take in mind that if your North Node is sitting in your first house, your South Node, good job, Kenny. Right, the self-image, correct. So if your North Node, the question was, what does the first house represents? Kenny answered it. She said the self-image. If your North Node is sitting in the first house, this means your South Node is sitting in the 7th house. Oh, you're in a red light? You need to be careful. So, it is said that North Node is also known as, or the South Node is known as karma, or it represents the um the totality of your lives, especially with the moon as well, because this is the moon's path. Now, the first house deals with self, so when you have the North Node sitting in the first house, this could represent somebody who is supposed to be an image, be reflected as somebody who is in society. They're supposed to be focusing on leadership and not just themselves, not focusing on partnerships so much. Because maybe in under the theory of reincarnation, the North Node, the South Node sitting in the seventh house means that this person overemphasized partnerships. They overemphasized being diplomatic. They also came from a life of battling enemies. And, so in this lifetime, they have to keep the balance between partnerships and individuality, meaning focusing on themselves without losing themselves in their relationship. The seventh house rules partnerships. Yeah. All right. So this person can have a very cordial way of dealing with partnerships. And one of the first things they come in this lifetime is to want to get married and want to have a partner and they can also. Where is your North Node located, Kira? I always just ask you guys that, but I have the answer. I have the answer. Okay, your North Node is located in your first house. Boom. Or yours is in your second house. So Kira, we could use an example as North Node in the first house in the sign of Cancer. Basically, you overemphasize on marriages. You overemphasize on the partner itself. Meaning you lose yourself in partnerships, which you said just now, because your North Node is literally sitting in the first house and your South Node is sitting in the seventh house. This could also mean that you know how to go in between. But it also means that you need to learn how to keep a balance in between focusing on yourself, developing yourself, becoming a leader, putting your face out there, and being a marriage partner. Remember now. Or in partnership. Remember now, you have to keep a balance. Don't lose yourself. Your North Node is sitting in the sign of Cancer. So we don't have to look at any celebrities. We can look at you. You a celebrity. So North Node dealing with in the sign of Cancer, which deals with your family, your home, your roots and culture. You get where I'm coming from. Your North Node means that in a sort of a way, you are in a way here to be a leader or a leader of not just your family or your partner, but also maybe a person that can lead the people that you came from, your culture. Be a leading force. All right? So with your North Node sitting there, this could be a very much struggle. What I'm going to do, I'm going to read from you guys from my North Node book, which is a whole study by itself, by the way. It is a whole study by itself. The book is called, Yeah. Also, being like a leader of the family. Well, the karmic astrology, which is focused mostly on the North and South Node, the Moon's Node, and reincarnation. Well, I'm going to read a little insert from North Node in the first house for you. And they go from sign and houses. All right? So North Node in the first house. This individual is here to go through experiences which challenges the self. In former incarnations, he or she fell into the trap of depending upon undependable people. Spending too much time trying to help others understand themselves. He never stopped to reflect on how their same situation and circumstances play an immediate or important role in her own identity. As a result of putting the accent outside of the self, it now becomes difficult for her to see who she really is. This is particularly strong if Neptune is found near the ascendant. It's not near to your ascendant. These nodes indicate past incarnations in which the individual submerged his or her identity in the affairs of others, especially marriage partners. Marriage and partnerships are so deeply rooted in his or her way of doing things that her request of self is constantly viewed through other people's eyes. She therefore allows their thoughts and opinions of her to influence her own sense of identity. Ultimately, she must come out of the bondage of trying to be all things to all people in the light of her own single vibration. Establish who she is really. She must escape from living in the shadows of other people, especially the marriage partner. Her soul memories of cooperation and teamwork are so strong that every time she falls back on them, she actually extinguishes herself in the causes for others. Her first house, North Node, now brings to her the awareness that somehow she has lost her identity. Submerged in the desire to please, she has made herself a reflection of the ideal, peculiarity opposite of her own basic nature. So the question is, why did you retract the question? Can you send the question again, please, so I can get that question? Thank you. And don't retract it. Oh, okay. All right, so I'm going to go all the way to the end right now because it's almost ending. To achieve happiness in this current life. To achieve happiness in this current life, I'm going to tell you right now. Oh, that's what you said. You don't know yourself. Wow. To achieve happiness in this current life, she must learn how to balance equally her own needs with those around her. She must deliberately try not to rush her own growth and independence, with the understanding that the most beautiful flower takes time to blossom, while only the weed grows quickly. The sign in which it is contained indicates the way in which the individual, during former incarnations, submerged herself in others. The sign, which contains the North Node, shows that ways in which she can now establish her own self-identity. Your North Node is sitting in the sign of Capricorn, which means that in past lives, you were the person that was the breadwinner. You were the one that literally brought all the money. You were the more business, or the more go out there and bring the money to the family. And now you're on the opposite end of being the mom, but still having to be independent as a mom, independent as a family partnership. Yes, To be themselves, love themselves, yes. But still, because their overemphasis is about the partner, they have to still keep a little balance, take in mind. Because you cannot, with the North Node and South Node, you have to be like this. Try to balance that. Do not lose yourself in your partnerships. And Kira can tell you, this is your second marriage, right, Kira? But the thing is, because the North Node is sitting in Capricorn, it also the South Node is sitting in Capricorn, it also brings a sort of a cold, really business-oriented type partnership, like arrangement. Like, okay, I'm gonna marry you, but there is some rules and regulations I gotta deal with. Say, teach me, please. So yeah, that's North Node in the first house. The first house gives you sort of an emphasis on yourself, and the South Node, man, means you have to give a balance between your partnership and yourself. All right, moving on to the second house. North Node in the second house. The North Node is what you came here to do. That means if your North Node is in the second house, totally opposite of that is the South Node, and it's in the 8th house, okay? So we can relate it. So this is the 7th and 1st. This is the 2nd and 8th. Oh, that's cool. See, same thing. Oh, Ambi, you have North Node in the 2nd house. So do I. It's crazy. You sure you got North Node in the 2nd house? Are you sure? You know what? Take a look at your chart. I ain't trying to guess no more. Yeah, Kira, you got yours in the 1st house, North Node in the 1st house, and 7th house is your South Node. Ambi, your North Node is in the 8th house. Your South Node is in the 2nd house. Okay? Your North Node is in the 8th house. Your South Node is in the 2nd house. It's totally flipped. So anyway, so the South Node, the North Node sitting inside the 2nd house, South Node sitting in the 8th house, would give, you need balance in between creating your own assets, I don't know if his North Node is sitting in that sign, but maybe so. That could possibly be so. Some people who have North Node 1st house, if you're going back to that, are people who are supposed to focus on themselves, especially, the face they bring to the world, being a leader. That's what I see. I see being a leader. Michael Jordan had North Node in the 1st house. Yeah, he had North Node in the 1st house. Think about it like that. Charlie Chaplin, Mitt Romney, maybe another person. Nelson Mandela, Martin Luther King, Leonardo da Vinci, Amy Winehouse, Wolfgang Mozart. I'm just giving you some people who would, like, when you think about it, you focus on being a leader in a certain... Another way of channeling your energy, Kira, is to focus on also being a leader of the country you came from. Like being a face as well, not just for your family, but for your roots. All right, 2nd house, North Node. What is the 2nd house? The 2nd house is your assets. It's your income. It's your self-worth. It's all of those things, your movable assets. And with the 2nd house, with North Node being that where you're supposed to be striving for in the second house. This would mean that what you're here to do is focus on creating a sense of wealth, creating a sense of wealth. Any of you guys got North Node in the second house? Any of you? Let me tell you who has North Node in the second house when it comes to whole house sign system. Oprah Winfrey has North Node in the second house in the sign of Capricorn. She's a Sagittarius rising. So she has North Node sitting in her second house in the sign of Capricorn. She is literally living out what she came here to do, which is focus on creating a business, which is ruled by Capricorn, and making a whole lot of money through that. Take in mind her South Node, if it's sitting in the second house, would be in the 8th house. Okay, let me take a look at where your chart, where your stuff is. And then you don't have to worry about that. Okay, Shane, you gotta worry about. You have your North Node in the 9th house, your South Node is in the 3rd house. Yes, I have North Node in the 2nd house. I'm not a celebrity. I have North Node in the 2nd house. Thank you, Ambi. Thank you for selling me out. So North Node in the 2nd house. You're a real sellout. Thanks. North Node in the 2nd house. Say me love you, Lord. Kira, you're so silly. Oh, man. So North Node in the 2nd house. Seeing on YouTube? Oh, yeah, so yeah. North Node in the 2nd house would have this person to more focus on creating a sense of wealth, and it's according to what sign it's sitting in. My sign is sitting in the sign of Virgo. Now, Virgo, and I want to lose you with this as well. So check this out. Sorry, let me move back to Kira. Kira, I want to go back to you because there's a part of that I didn't explain. So your North Node and South Node, the sign it's sitting in, you take a look at the ruler of that sign. So let's just say your sign, your North Node is sitting in the sign of Cancer. Cancer is naturally ruled by the moon. So what I do is to look at how you are going to accomplish this is by looking at the moon and its aspects. Because now the moon is the landlord of your North Node. And your moon is sitting in the sign of Scorpio. So this would mean that when it comes to dealing with yourself, focusing on yourself, you have to go dig deep psychologically. Also, remember now, Scorpio rules things like meditation, visualization. It deals with astrology, which is deep, research, sex, dealing with death. You know, all these things are connected to your moon because your moon is in the sign of Scorpio. So that's what we look at. We look at what your moon is sitting in. It also means that you have to tap into and keep a balance of the Scorpion energy. This is how you will shine as yourself, which is meaning like being somebody who would learn, who would be a leader in the fields of things that are very deep and mysterious. Okay? I hope I made sense for you just now. So back to the second house, with using myself as an example. With North Node in the second house, just like Oprah Winfrey, she tapped into the way she was supposed to use it. Myself, what are you asking, Abby? I don't know. Sorry. Yeah, so the sign that your North Node is sitting in is, it also helps to shape that. Anyway, see, your phone is drunk. When it's in your nose, what? Nothing could be in your node. The node is in the sign or the house. Okay? So like I was saying before, because my North Node is sitting in the sign of Virgo, I have to focus on detail or service. Service, health, detail. Also, North Node in Virgo also brings a sense of teaching, analytics, or analyzing. So let's just say, in some form of fashion, I am here to, and what I'm here to get sort of build a sense of wealth through my analytical and way of putting things together methodically. Because Virgo, in a way, Virgo is ruled by the planet Mercury. And my Mercury is sitting in the sign of Scorpio. So let's just say with me, I have to focus on things that are very dark, mysterious, and things that are like esoteric knowledge. So let's just say at some point I'm going to become wealthy based upon knowledge and wisdom, understanding, analytics, maybe astrology, maybe some form of service. But either which way, that is where I'm supposed to develop a steady set of income that will come towards me in a way that will not really focus on the 8th house. And the 8th house is your partner's money. Now, you're supposed to keep a balance in between your partner's money and developing your own thing. So if you have a partner that literally helps you financially, you're supposed to, for somebody like myself, well, other people's money doesn't have to be your partner, it can be anybody's money as well. You're supposed to have a balance in between that and creating wealth for myself. So it's like, okay, you're going to help me with this, then I'm going to do this. And and it's sort of a balance in between. And it's the same way for Oprah Winfrey, how she got really started, dealing with what she had to do. Yeah, so that's, yeah, like making sure that you have a lot of assets, business, whatever. Oprah Winfrey one was business. My own is more so of service and publication. But mostly service. Anyway. So there has to be a balance in between. Oh, I'm being asked the question. Is it possible to deactivate your South Node? It's possible to deactivate your South Node. People would say that. Some people have claimed that they deactivated and they just focus on what they came in to do. But there has to be a balance. You deactivate it, then it becomes an imbalance. And now you don't have any balance because you're focusing only on your North Node. And you literally need your South Node to balance. If you think about it, if you're on a seesaw and you're on this end, so you are on this end, and you don't have nothing to balance you yet, it literally goes up like that. You go down, and that goes up. Even though there's nothing there, it's all the way up, and you're underground. So you need a balance. Deactivating will only cause you not to be able to focus really on what you came here to do. Even if you overemphasize it, you would feel a sense of, I'm doing this the hard way. So the easy way is using a little bit of your South Node. Like for Kira example, she has a South Node in partnerships. So that means that in order for her to focus on herself, she has to use a little bit of her partner. In order for her to focus and develop on her spiritual gifts and, seeking things deeper and more, more inner psychological, she has to go into the reservoir of her partner. Well, what happens is when the planets are next to your North Node, it literally paints a picture of how you are to go towards that. For myself, I have Jupiter conjunct my North Node. I also have Mars conjunct my North Node. So for myself, I have to, in order for me to go and do what I'm here to do, I have to teach. I have to be a professor in a sense. I have to go out there and be like a guru. Yes, that is correct. Yeah, it's like a guide. It's like it gives you a sort of a painted picture, and it gives you you just can't help but strive towards it. It just makes you feel a sense of power. Yeah, like a dragon. Snake, dragon, whatever you want to call it. So you get an understanding of the South Node, North Node in the second house, South Node in the 8th house. My South Node also shows that in the 8th house means that I spent a lot of time in the sign of Pisces researching, digging into spiritual gifts, spiritual talents, and spiritual understanding. Remember, I was in the sign of Pisces, which represents spirituality. It means that I went into myself and I had a natural sense of oneness with the world and completion. And now I'm using the balance of that with the sign of Virgo to bring myself into balance. Yeah, so in past life I was basically like a spiritual person who just focused on the deep things. And now I'm here to just use that in a way that can be balanced and will bring me a sense of stability financially, even so a sense of wealth. Moving on to the 3rd house. 3rd house, North Node. And the 3rd house, North Node would bring you a person that I would say, that is here to focus on communication, their siblings, their way of travel, their way of processing things. Because the 3rd house is ruled by Mercury, which actually rules the mind and your way you process stuff. It also rules like being able to communicate with friends, being able to socialize, being able to have short, what we call superficial conversations. Why? Because their South Node is sitting in the 9th house of spirituality and religion and going into far places and focusing on the bigger picture. But see now, you're not knowing all that knowledge that you've got from those past lives and seeking out spirituality and religion and law and philosophy. Now is your time to teach. So you're here imparting your information through communication. So you're using the South Node to bring into the North Node. Okay, so let me give, for example, Sheena. We're going to flip it for you so you can understand where I'm coming from. So let me give the flip side of that. Your South Node is sitting in the 3rd house. And what that means is, it means that from past lives, you really focus on other people's lives. you were a communicator, and you were very, very good at developing superficial conversations, things that matters around the neighborhood, like TMZ, and people be like, boy, I know all that information because you were a seeker of just tidbit information. And now you bring that into this lifetime. So you have that in this lifetime where you can just, you focus on, oh, so what's going on? So you're watching this show and you're watching these people and you're like, wow. Okay, so the question is, so when finally being able to balance, how do you keep up that without becoming imbalanced again? Because you have knowledge of this, it gives you the sense of, you can also do self-evaluation. You're looking at yourself, you're focusing, like, but you know what? I know my chart says, and I know when I've fallen off. So you now have knowledge of yourself to do self-observation. So like I was giving you the flip side of Sheena. Yeah, so with that being said, so your South Node is sitting inside the third house, which means that you were so focused on people and society and having superficial conversation and actually being, somebody who could flip a music there and just be like, you know what, multitasking and doing things is something that is a crutch for you, is your South Node. But now, in this lifetime, you're here to focus on higher education, focus on foreign travel. Your focus is supposed to be on dealing with, different cultures, learning different languages, the bigger picture, learning things that are philosophy and religion and law, things that you could paint a picture to people and show them the bigger picture. In order for you to do that, you have to keep a balance in between socializing with your friends, your associates, your siblings, your brothers and sisters. So you feel a sense of connection to your siblings, but also now the balance is going out there and focusing on other countries and learning things that are much more deeper than Kim Kardashian's hairstyle or, how many kids Halle Berry has. You feel what I'm saying? No shade. I'm just telling you what your chart says. So I just want to give you a flip of that. So now I'm going to go back to North Node in the third house. North Node in the third house means that you're supposed to be focusing on teaching, relating, learning things about your neighbors. Because right now you've probably been in a focusing on not really connecting with anybody because you're foreign traveling. You did so much different travels. And now in this lifetime, you're supposed to keep a balance in between your siblings and connecting with them and being social. You say stop being in other people's business. It's a crutch of yours, and that's what your past lives have you to do now. You feel me? It has you to do that now. So should I say? So I have 4th house North Node and 10th house and South Node. Yes, South Node and 10th house. Yes. Well, let me look at your chart to make sure of that. Yeah. Oh, I believe you. I believe that you are the glue, but also what it is here to show that is that you can impart your knowledge, your wisdom that you're about to learn that is not superficial, like watching all the latest, what Hollywood has and focusing on bigger picture things that you teach them that could actually change their lives is what your focus should be on now. And keep a balance in between conversating with them. Yep, sorry. This thing is flip out, in and out. So I hope you get the understanding of the 3rd house North Node, South, and 9th house South Node. Okay. Moving on to North Node in the 4th house and South Node in the 10th house. And we already know what South Node, North Node is. North Node is what you're striving to do, to be, and to go forward for you to have a sense of fulfillment. And your South Node is your crutch, your accumulated past lives and what you've done over and over and over again. Something that you just do haphazardly and naturally. Conversing is the word. Okay, yeah. Conversing. Okay, my English major. Okay, Sharon, you do have North Node in the 4th house. Who else in this class has North Node in the 4th house? That's okay. Thank you. I normally use conversing, but when you're around a bunch of ghetto people, you say, conversating. I'm conversating. I'm in conversation. I mean, that's a different word, but conversating is not really, usually I'm conversing with my friend. Hey. North Node in the 4th house. So with North Node in the 4th house, what is the 4th house? The 4th house is your roots, your culture. It deals with your home, your physical home, your mom, your psychological depth. Your South Node is sitting in the sign of Cancer in the 10th house. North Node in the sign of Capricorn. Yes, we're talking about you, Sharon. We're going to use some other examples of each one of those houses and signs that we did when we're done. With your North Node sitting in the 4th house, this means that you have to have a balance in between your work, your focusing on being busy and being in society, and now you have to focus on the home. But see, yours is a little complicated. Yours is a little complicated. Why is it complicated? The reason for it being complicated is because you have your South Node in the sign of Cancer in the 10th house, and your North Node in Capricorn in the 4th house. Capricorn rules the 10th house, Cancer rules the 4th, so you have it inversed. So your North Node sitting in the 4th house in the sign of Capricorn would have you to literally focus more on home, on your roots and culture, where you came from, that sort of stuff. Sorry, he's having a call, and I ain't answering no call because we're in class. Anybody who knows me should know that I'm in class and I'm not answering any calls. So anyway, so what this means is that you had an overemphasis on putting the family together, making the family a structure. But you also did it whilst being somebody who worked like crazy. And you bring that same mentality into this lifetime of being nurturer or being the most dominant parent at home. According to this chart, it's showing that you're basically the mother, even though you're not the mom. You basically mother your mom and mother everybody. And you make it a job. You turn it into something that you do ritualistically. In this lifetime, you're here to focus on the home, but more so, almost the exact same thing, but in a more structured, ordered way. Instead of being the mommy, you need to be the daddy. You also, one of your purposes is also starting a business from the home. You, in past lives, may have had like a daycare center or something where you focus on bringing the home or things that are very nurturing, like being a nurse or of that nature, into, the work field. So according to this, you probably was a nurse in the past life, and you're so nurturing, and and caring that you didn't do it on your work. You do it on your job. You do it with everybody you come in contact with. People know you to be very nurturing and loving and so emotional and sentimental and family oriented. And now what you're here to do is bring that home. But not just bring that home, but start a business from home. Be somebody who works from home or who can start a business by nurturing people. You have your Uranus and your Neptune conjunct your North Node. And whenever I see that, this could also mean that you're here to start like a business at home that's very, very much spiritual, or somebody who's supposed to do a job that is very unorthodox or different, because Uranus is sitting there conjuncted as well. But your Neptune is literally conjuncted. Oh, that's Dale. Hey, Dale. Conch Solid Rocks. Greetings. Can you explain how the sign that is in colors it for her specifically? That's what I was doing just now. I was explaining to you her sign is in the sign of Capricorn. And that means that, sitting in the fourth house, she could start a business from home, or another thing is she could focus on. And all of these are energies that she could use. Remember now, it isn't just a one-way streak. It's the way you use the planets for yourself. And with Neptune sitting in the sign of Capricorn in and conjunct her North Node, she can start like a spiritual business. She could also start something that's very unorthodox, very different, very eccentric, very much that is humanitarian from the home. Uranus brings that energy down. Neptune brings that spirituality, or somebody, what is another thing is, it's a good thing that she don't sell weed or drugs or alcohol from her home, because then that's what she be doing. I don't know about home open to the public. No, I don't necessarily think that. Even though probably Sharon homes be open to the public anyway. Well, another way of channeling that energy is starting at home, an old folks' home, an orphanage, someplace where she can focus on her country, which is also represented by the fourth house, her roots and culture. She could teach things that are very psychological and deep. Remember now, the planets conjunct or close to it naturally flavors what you're here to do and how you're going to do it. Did you ask a question? Let me double check if you asked. Did you ask a question? Oh, you say you missed that part. Okay. All right. So yeah, basically you're here to do that, to channel the energy through one of those venues, those avenues. And because you have Neptune strongly conjuncted, you can do that. Correct me if I'm wrong. This is Sheena speaking. North Node is basically your ascendant, and South Node is your descendant. No. Your North Node is your North Node, your South Node is your South Node. See, it's sort of confusing because they say it's your ascending node and your descending node. I don't use that terminology because I don't want you guys to get lost in that. It is not your ascendant sign. It is not your descendant sign. They say ascending node, meaning your North Node. And your ascending node is your North Node, and your descending node is your South Node. Okay? All right, so don't get it confused. It's not the same thing. Moving along. North Node in the 5th house. South Node in the 11th house. Now, this combination can be very interesting. And what is the 5th house? no problem. That's what I'm here for. That's what I'm here for, to make sure you see, it's sort of cool going and doing your research. Yes, dear God, recreation, romance. See, the more you repeat it, like how Dale is doing, the more it's going to sit in your mind. Exactly. Recreation, romance, fun, kids. There's one more. Creative. There's actually three more. Two more. Go ahead. One more. You're missing the very, very, another important one, which is speculation. Gambling. Taking a chance. That's the last one. North Node sitting. Oh, yeah, speculation is that one. Or gambling. Fifth house is all of those things. And with the North Node sitting in the fifth house and the South Node sitting in the 11th house, the 11th house, we can use the crutch now. So you're so used to focusing on like your friends and associates and humanitarian efforts and, focusing on the wide picture because, I'm not doing this unless all of us do this. And now, because you're so much in not just inventing things but you're focusing on things that are very much from the heart, from your sense of creativity. So now, because you've been focused on all the other people's and you really had a chance to focus on your talents, like dancing and having fun and enjoying yourself, sex, romance, children. Because who got any kind of time to deal with children if you're focusing on your associates and your friends? Exactly. Because it's the fifth house dealing with Leo. So, with that being said, focusing on all of those things without focusing on your sense of creativity and your talent and fun and romance, and because your partner will be a little upset that you're focusing on all these people, and what about me? Are we supposed to be whining and dining? I want to have an intimate moment with you. But yet you want me to be with all your friends while you're outside with them. Like, what kind of date is that? Is that fun? No, it's not. So why are you dragging me in there? We need to be home and just either we go out to dinner with just me and you. You feel me? So there's a difference. There's a balance in between that. And focusing on your humanitarian efforts and focusing on the things that you yourself find enjoyable. Things about yourself that you're discovering from the heart. You see, 11th house, hopes and wishes. 5th house, creativity. There has to be a balance. In order for you to... So somebody who has North Node in the 5th house. Let me give you an example of somebody who has North Node in the 5th house. And we're going to go touch into that a little bit before I... North Node, 5th house. Let's take a look. So let's look at Jesus the Christ. Jesus the Christ had North Node. You know, I like to make fun of that because this is crazy. You know what? Let's use that. We're going to use Jesus the Christ. According to this chart, he has his rising sign is Capricorn. His sun is in Pisces. Well, that's what they're saying. Yeshua ben Joseph was born as well because they have some form of fashion they found his time of birth. But anyway. And his North Node is sitting in the sign of Taurus in the 5th house. Guess where his North Node is? South Node is. It's sitting in the sign of Scorpio in the 11th house. And what is Scorpio? Sex, death, regeneration. What is the 11th house? The 11th house is associates, friends, people you're connected to. And what did he do? His crutch, and also his North Node, his South Node is actually conjunct Neptune, which means that He came from a sense of spirituality. He came with knowledge of spirituality. So now, he used the sign of Scorpio, sex, death, and regeneration, in order for him to transcend and help his counterparts, his friends, his associates. His creativity was to establish something that would last a lifetime. Last. Remember now, because the sign of Taurus meaning creating a legacy, something that will last. Did he literally focus on that? On his creativity and romance and all that other stuff? According to this chart, no. He didn't really do things from the heart. He did mostly what he was accustomed to doing from his south node, as opposed to just his north node, or keeping a balance in between. So he's supposed to create some sense of wealth by something very creative. I mean, if you think about it, he did that. What sounds 12th house? You mean giving up his life, self-sacrificing? Well, you know, his north node is sitting inside the 5th house and his south node is sitting in 11th, you know, in the sign of Scorpio. So if you think about it, it still sort of brings that sense of death for your associates, people you're connected to, for the bigger picture. North node or south node in the 11th house, in the 12th house, would necessarily, he would have already done that. That would be something that he'd already done before. And now he's bringing that self-sacrificing into the 6th house of service. So I don't necessarily think that it would be that. His north node is sitting inside the 5th house. Let me give you another example so we can be more clear. Steve Jobs has north node in the 5th house. North node in the 5th house, south node in the 11th house. North node in the 5th house, south node in the 11th house. What's the 11th house? The 11th house is the internet. He had north node in Capricorn. So now, from his creativity, from his endeavor, from his sense of heart of what he enjoys, he starts a business. And that business, from his sense of creativity, affects the south node, which deals with internet, people, association, people from around the world. What Steve Jobs, even though he died at a certain age, literally kept a balance between the south node and the north node. Excuse me a second. Sorry guys, I hope you're still there. Thank you for waiting. Thank you for waiting. So the quick question. Okay, quick question. What if your north node have a major, a minor, or a conjunction? Sheena. Anyway, only because I use that. It's obvious that you're Googling, and that's fine. What if your north node have a major or minor, Lilith, or conjunction? Does your north node has conjunct Lilith? Okay. No, we're gonna go back to that. Hold that question because that's in between my frame of thought. Oh, your south node is Lilith? Well, I didn't really teach Lilith right now, but you know, you could do your further research. So when we do the class, you can actually be a little bit ahead. so you can understand what Lilith is. Yep. Okay, so Steve Jobs took his creativity and made a business from it. He made a business, a structural business, something that is literally people can see. He kept a balance in between his south node and his north node. Even though he died at a certain age, he literally was living up to his purpose. And his purpose brought him here. Think about it like this. We're talking about Steve Jobs, by the way. He has north node in the 5th house of Capricorn and his south node in the 11th house of Cancer. So with that being said, he literally took what he felt, because he was very, very much at home with dealing with associates and friends and so and for his home, his society, his country, his roots and culture. And he transformed it through his creativity and business. So he literally lived up to balancing his north and south node. I'll give you another person so you can understand much more clearly. Hope you guys are understanding this north node, south node thing. It's something that I find to be very, very important. All right, for now, let's just move on because I have a few more to go and I have to go soon. Okay, so north node so before I move on, you guys, can you, if you have a question, Dale, did I answer your question that you asked? I hope I answered it. Okay. Sheena, what I'm going to do is when we're done with class, you can ask me that inside the group, WhatsApp group, and I'll answer you there for sure. All right? Now we're going to focus on the 6th house. North node in the 6th house. South node in the 12th house. Well, I could do it in the group while I'm, traveling, what have you. So what is the 6th house? The 6th house is your health, your sense of service, your work, your pets. I'll repeat that. Your 6th house is your sense of service, your health, your work. You got that? We're going to look at somebody who has north node in the 6th house. Bill Gates has north node in the 6th house. That would mean that he would have south node in the 12th house. He has north node in the sign of Sagittarius in the 6th house of health, work, and pets and stuff like that. And in the opposite end is Gemini, is a south node. And what we say the south node is, it's your crutch. It's what you're used to. It's past life accumulation. It's what you run to when you don't even know that you're running to it. It's what you do naturally, innately. Your south node, your north node is what you're here to strive towards. It's what you're here to accomplish. It's what you're here to create balance. And with this north node, if any of you guys have any other, I think we covered most of you guys, right? Okay. Dale, where's your north node sitting in? What sign and what house is it sitting in? We're going to get to that in a minute. But north node for Bill Gates, if you think about it, a few years ago, like I told you earlier, he has this drive to create a lot of vaccines for different countries. He's focusing on creating and controlling. He's saying he's helping them from a health perspective, but he's literally told people that he's trying to control the amount of people on earth. Through what? Through his 6th house north node. Now, I'm going to use dark Lilith in this case, Sheena, so you can understand. His dark moon Lilith is conjunct his north node. And what dark moon Lilith is? Lilith is the planet that dealt with pure control and sexual energy. She did not like being controlled and told what to do. We're going to go into her asteroid in a bit. But because you mentioned it, I'm going to explain to you. He seeks to control other countries, which is ruled by, as the energy of that Lilith, by vaccinations. You get where I'm coming from. Now, his south node, which is information and knowledge, because it's sitting in the sign of Gemini, of knowing things, of being in people's business, in a spiritual sense, or from a hospital sense, because the 12th house also rules asylums, prisons, hospitals. So now he's bringing this knowledge from a past life of being around probably a doctor or somebody who was really know these things, into trying to create a sense of control in another country, in other countries, through health. And that's how he's channeling his north node, through creating a sense of knowing about things from a spiritual perspective as well, because the 12th house rules spirituality as well, and self undoing. So think about it, like he knows that how we are literally killing ourselves or hurting ourselves or self-undoing his knowledge of what the human race can do based upon past lives or whatever. And he's using that to control and to use vaccinations to create a balance in society. And right, he doesn't allow. Oh, we got a celebrity. Dale has her north node in Leo in the 6th house. So, Dale, how would you say that you channel Sagittarius? You mean when I was boom, 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 boom. So your north node sitting inside the 6th house. How would you say that you channel your south node in the sign of Aquarius in the 12th house? I would say that you do very well by doing that. When I looked at your chart for the first time, I said that this woman has south node in Aquarius, the sign that rules astrology. She don't even know that she has like this basic knowledge of astrology. Not just that. Aquarius also rules humanitarian efforts and stuff like that. So with your north node sitting inside, with your south node sitting inside the sign of Aquarius in the 12th house, this would mean that your south node would channel focusing on the bigger picture from a humanitarian effort, focusing on things that are very unorthodox, creating things in a more an invention that literally helped the past, or I mean helped the mass. An activist past life. Boom! I like that. But one who looked at the bigger picture when it came to oneness, togetherness, focusing on being Zen. So you bring into this lifetime a sense of different way of spirituality. In the past life, you were somebody who was probably considered, strange, different, very eccentric, but also very aloof. Could possibly be so. There's a lot of things like shamans that would literally fall underneath the 12th house and using the Aquarius energy. A shaman would literally be a fusion of 12th house and Aquarius energy. Somebody who did not follow the lines of other religion, but also kept the sense of spirituality was very different. But now in this lifetime, you're here to focus on your sense of creativity. But not just sense of creativity, but bring it in the sense that will help people from a health point of view. So now you're here to be a leader in the avenue of health and service. And what is your sun is sitting in? Your sun is sitting in the sign of Cancer, correct? So now you're here to, if I fuse those energies, is focusing on the health of children and family from a more perspective of, because your moon also is a factor of that as well, because your moon rules Cancer. And if your moon is sitting in the sign of Taurus, which it does, this would mean that from an earthy standpoint, so your North Node literally points to you exactly what you need to do. What's interesting? Share it, please. What's so interesting, Dan? Wow. Wow. That's... Wow. I think I remember you saying that. I remember you saying that. Wow. So now, like what you're doing right now when it comes to like your wellness, I think that's, what is it called? Mindfulness. Mindfulness, and I think that's a beautiful way of actually channeling your North Node energy. But see, what you're not doing is you're not focusing on that Leo energy. You're here to be a face. You're here to present yourself. Why? Because the sun, Leo, is about being the king, being on the throne. You're here to be a face, to show what you're doing when it comes to health, when it comes to service in that way, in that form of fashion. So what you're here to do is to do that in that form of fashion, and focusing on keeping the balance in between, seeing the bigger picture and the sense of creativity and focusing on that as well. Another way of channeling that is I can say it. People reverse it. Anyway. Let me give you another person that has North Node in the 6th house. What do you say, Tal? I was gonna say, but you're not in your way. It's not your way. I was gonna say you could start like a gambling agency. You know what I mean? Like where people could spend, just gamble. But no, that's not you. That's not you. Yeah, I know. Look at this. Yeah. Mother Teresa has North Node in the sign of Taurus. $11.02 the other day. I'll never split again. I didn't say for you to partake in it. I said to create a sense of service for people for it. But anyway, I was just kidding with that one. You're not Mother Teresa North Node is sitting inside the sign of Taurus. And it's actually conjunct her moon. Basically, and that means that her South Node. Yeah. Oh, that's pretty cool. You channel that information from my computer to your mind. No, that was too much. All right. So she has South Node sitting in the sign of Scorpio in the 12th house, and her North Node in the sign of Taurus in the 11th house. I mean, in the 6th house, and it's conjunct her moon. What was Mother Teresa? Well, she created a sense of stability for people's lives and homes. So she created a sense of, she reached out to poor people, in orphanage, and she fed the poor. She fed them. And what is food? Food is actually connected to the sign of Taurus. Why? Because Taurus like luxury, the 5 senses. So her North Node sitting inside the sign of Taurus made her to be a mother or create a sense of home, stability for children, sense of service, all of that. She literally lived out her North Node energy. Her South Node is sitting in the 12th house of Scorpio. You'll be surprised to know what she probably knew. I don't know Mother Teresa. But I know South Node in the sign of Scorpio means that she actually sacrificed her sexual energy. Scorpio is the sign of sex, death, regeneration. 12th house self-undoing, hospitals, asylums, prisons, spirituality. So it was probably easy for her to say, well, I ain't giving up this pussy. I'm keeping this pussy for the rest of my life. And I'm going to help children whilst I stay a virgin. Sorry. It's just being very much raw. I know. But yeah, it was sort of second nature for her to do that. I don't know how she did it, but she did it. But yeah, do you see how she channeled that South Node energy of self-sacrificing, sex, death, and regeneration, and focusing on those things that were much deeper, and actually focusing on service and creating a sense of stability for children, being the mother, because her moon is conjunct her North Node. She literally lived out the balance of, and I don't think it's balance, I think she went to the extreme. I think she went to the total extreme when it came to her sexual energy. But it is what it is, right? Let me give you another person, one more before, because we're going to do the other ones. If I get a chance, if you guys know this, I'll just do a video. Or you can just tune in the class if you guys are open. You can always read it. Doesn't matter. So if you guys get the picture of what North Node does, it sort of compels you. You sort of feel drawn towards doing this. You don't really just, people who don't really focus on what they're here to do become lost, feel lost. Part of fortune is in the chart shows you where your passion can be and where money can present themselves. But the North Node gives you a sense of fulfillment. It gives you the reason why you're here. And when you do go towards it, I could tell you what happens. Synchronicity happens. Doors open. Wait. When your regatta? Dale, when is your regatta? What? Hold up. Wait a minute. I'm sorry. Should have been able to make that. Right? Shucks. That would have been good. But so like I said before, and to answer your question, Sheena, yes, it's like destiny. It's like what you're here to do. But destiny is more so, fated. Your North Node is where you need to strive balance. We're going to continue at doing the North Node from 7 to 12. I'm going to try to do that tomorrow. If you guys want to tune in, if you're open to it, I will continue that. And show of hands in the group, in the class, in the group, and also Einstein WhatsApp group, if you'd like for me to continue that. But tonight, now, I actually have to head out. Guys, it's been wonderful. It's been awesome. Know fully well, if I've covered, or if I didn't cover your North Node, it will be very much important for you to focus and get in the class tomorrow, if you can. Or just watch it. And we'll discuss how your North Node affects you. Peace out. Enjoy the rest of your evening. You can talk in the WhatsApp group. Let me know if you want me to continue tomorrow. All right? Bye, guys.